Yeah. I've only got one more left, so.
Okay, you only have one more. Okay, so we've caught up. Okay. You only have one more left.
Yeah.
You should have two more left.
Well, only got one more left, so, you know.
What?
Deal with it.
Tonight? Okay, anyway.
Yes.
Because you can't leave. I don't know.
So go for it. You have two that you need to do.
Yeah. What's happening, party people? Welcome to Punchboard Party. My name is Daniel. This is Father Greg, and we are doing another Best of the Month video. We are doing our Best of the Month for September. We just got back from my church's game night. Father Greg, for the first time, joined us for our game night. He helped me float around, teach games. We were just talking about how it's kind of difficult to kind of organize or run a game night.
Yeah, we're talking big game nights, like we were expecting, 30 people. Or something.
Yeah. So we had about 25. I counted. I think. And so it was like four to five tables running simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So and then they're ending at different times, and things are kind of nuts. Yeah. But we made it through. It's late at night, and we're gonna talk about all the great board games we played in September.
For sure.
So if you've seen these videos, you know how they work. We talk about the games we played, we talk too much about the games we played, and then we tell you what our favorite game we played this month was. So Father Greg, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Well, the first game I played this month was Newton. Got Newton
again?
Played again. Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so lovely game. It's obviously a lot easier than the second time you play it. The first time I played it, I was like, my brain was like hurting immensely. Second time, flowed a little bit smoother. I was like, okay, I got this. Some interesting things that it does. It's just like, you have this hand of cards, and each card does an action, and you've got like 5 cards, but you're going to do like, say, 4 actions. So you like lay down each card. But then what happens is at the end of the round, you take one of those cards, you like tuck it under your board.
Okay.
And so now you can't do that action anymore. If you find another card, because you can like also buy cards from like a display, and one of the actions is to buy cards. And so when you buy cards, if you get another, like let's say you took a research, card under your board, well then the next time you do a research action, you do it like with a value of 2 instead of 1 because you tucked your research card under. So it's like you're powering up an action, but you're also like taking that action card out of your hand such that you're never going to be able to play it again. So you kind of now have to be like, okay, if I'm tucking those cards and that's my strategy, I need to go invest in those cards in the market as well.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm like, I might have a really powerful research action, but no cards that actually allow me to research.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a really interesting kind of like strategy. So it's
that
really
sounds fascinating.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the month, I was still in my Strasbourg phase. Mm-hmm. So I was still playing that quite a bit. So I brought that over to Mary Dallas's, and Sarah and I, Mary Dallas, played Strasbourg. And still love it. I just think it's fantastic. You still haven't gotten to play it yet. It's quirky, it's a little zany, but it's enough of like, you just kind of go for something and you try your best to make it work. And sometimes you can just you can't do everything. You can't do everything, but this game is different in that you almost need to do everything.
Right.
So it gets a little tense. So Strasbourg is this nice kind of auction game where there's 5 rounds, 7 auctions a round, so there's just a lot of auctions. But the way the auction works is just really interesting. You got this deck of cards, and you got that whole deck for 5 rounds worth of play. And you just kind of play those numbers into stacks, and you say, I'm going to compete in 3 or 4 of these 7 auctions this round, and I got my 7 value stack, I got my non-value stack, I got my 1 value stack, and you just kind of decide how you're going to allocate those. And it gets tense, and it gets tricky, and it's a bit crunchy. But Strasbourg, great. Still love it. Cool. It's fantastic. Talked about it a lot on the channel lately, but it's good. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the next game I played is a Queen's game, Old London Bridge.
Oh.
So
I've been really intrigued by this.
Yeah, it's very pleasant. I mean, it's very like cute, and you have a bridge, and you take these buildings, and it's a covered bridge, so you're putting these buildings like onto your bridge, but each building has a number, and so you have to like go in, I think it's descending order, so you have to find if your other building was a 40, the next number has to be less than a 40.
Okay.
Until you put a park, and then you can like restart that thing. You don't want to put parks on your bridge if you can help it. But then like, yeah, each building you do has like a symbol. And so like the more, I'll say like purple symbols you have on your bridge, like kind of the same thing. You get to do like a purple action that many times.
Okay.
Which could be like getting money or it could be whatever. But yeah, it's just a very kind of like easy breezy game. But
This is like a 45-minute play?
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Okay, so the next game I played in September, still in that, what happens with me is I get a game, and if I like it, I play it, 4 to 5 times, and then it just sort of goes back on the shelf, and it'll come back. Like, games I like come back every now and then, but, like, it's usually this little flurry. And so
a little wave, yeah.
Curse Court.
That's a wave for you, for sure.
We were still in the Curse Court wave, and I was really enjoying it. So, again, this is, half-hour game, plays up to 6 players. Just really easy to get to the table. Like, just, I love having games that play a lot of players, that play quickly, that I can just get to the table. And it has this just sort of quirky bidding mechanism where you're just kind of, some information about how the cards are going to come out and play, but you don't know all of it, and so you're just guessing. It's just a guessing game, and it's not much more than that. And if you want more than that, don't play Curse Court. But if you like the idea of just sort of double guessing, triple guessing, quadruple guessing, Curse Court is just a fun thing to play. And don't underestimate the tactile nature of those nice chunky poker chips.
Anything with chips is just satisfying.
Yeah, very satisfying to play with that. So yes, Curse Court, had a great time. Again, I'll never get tired of this game.
Right on. Well, the next game I have, I was going over to Dan's, and normally when I go to Dan's, he just picks out a game, but this time he told me to bring one.
Yes.
And that's that he told me to bring Royals, which is a game that he knows that I love. I've talked about it many times before on the channel, and so I played Royals. And actually, I played it twice this month and enjoyed both times of it.
Yes.
It was, it's just my ideal area control, just like trying to do lots of different things. I like games where like, you try to like invest in France and then somebody starts moving out into Spain and you're like, oh, maybe I should go into Spain. But then while you're in Spain, you lose France.
Yes.
And so there's just this back and forth of like, trying to be like, well, do I want to control it? Am I happy being second place? How long can I be second place before somebody comes and takes that away from me? Sort of like, what's worth the most effort? Is it worth me controlling France? It's worth the most points, but it's going to take a lot of energy to do that, as opposed to maybe I could be second place in Germany and for like next to nothing. And just get free points for that.
What I really like about it, so this is my next plate as well.
Okay.
And I wanted you to bring it because I remember liking it a lot, but then it's been a long time since we played it, and you were talking about quite a bit, so it's like, let's get this played, and it's everything that I remember it being. It is that beautiful sort of like Ticket to Ride step up.
Right.
And it has all the thrills a Ticket to Ride has of searching for the right color cards to play in the right regions, but then the layers of the point scoring here. Because not only are you going to be scoring points for having majorities in certain regions, but you're also going to be scoring points for scoring the same kind of person.
That's right.
As well in a region. And so you're going to be getting points for those. So the amount of things that you're trying to keep track of is a little overwhelming. Like, it's a little bit tough to like try and like, where do I focus my strategy? Like, where do I focus my efforts? So like, I kind of got a little bit diluted in my strategy as I was playing. I kind of lost sight of, I thought I had the king in the bag.
Right.
And then someone swooped in last minute and tied the king. So then you get half the points that you normally would, then you would get the majority. So there was some stuff like that, but really splendid, really fun, and looks gorgeous. It is like, aesthetics for me do add to the game, and this is one that like just elevates the pleasure that I experience when I play the game.
The next game I played, I've talked about this in a previous month, and I think even the months before that. I played some more solo scenarios of It's a Wonderful World.
Hey, good!
But this time I made it to the expansion content. So the expansion has a number of scenarios. So I kind of got involved in the expansions. And that's an interesting... I've never played a multiplayer game with the expansion.
Right.
But it's a really interesting thing. You have some cards now that like raise you up in some resources but lower you your production and other resources.
Okay,
so
like a corruption.
Yeah, exactly. And then others that give you like points for getting like 2 types of things together. Like you want a green and a blue card or something. But yeah, so really interesting. Still really am enjoying It's Wonderful World solo mode. And then next up was if you say it's your best game of all time, you have to get it to the table. And so I got Village to the table again this month. And, really enjoy. Village is just the theme just always brings it home.
There's a copy of Village on Kijiji right now, and I'm just like, I just rebought Glass Road from a friend,
right?
So I'm kind of in that season, so I may as well just bite the bullet and rebuy Village.
Asked me to bring it over.
I know. Okay, you bring it over.
Cool.
But it went well. It was a good play.
Yeah. I played with all the expansions, so the port and the inn as well.
Okay.
And for people who know Village, I'll always play with that. I don't need to play with that.
Yeah.
If I'm teaching someone the game, I won't. But yeah, port and inn are all just great.
Sweet.
Love it.
So the next game I played, really great. I don't know why I didn't get to the table sooner, but we played a game of Lost Ruins of Arnak. And Lost Ruins of Arnak, it kind of gets shade depending on the group you're playing with, you know? Either kind of Doom gets the love, or Lost Ruins of Arnak gets the love, or neither gets the love. So again, this is another game where the aesthetics kind of give it a bump up, where I just enjoy sitting there looking at this gorgeous board.
It is nice.
And this playthrough, I really kind of took advantage of the deck building aspect more. I really kind of leveraged getting cards into my deck that really work together. So I really had I don't know what they are, but manuscripts or something.
Yep.
Where tablets. And to utilize the blue cards in your deck, you need to pay a tablet. And so the first blue card I got was a blue card that gets you a bunch of tablets. So you pay a tablet to get like 4 tablets. And so then you have a bunch of tablets to use more blue cards. And so I felt like I had more flexibility and freedom in using the cards in my deck. I felt more free to get cards into my deck than before. My experience of Lost Ruins of Arnak previously was very limited in increasing my deck size and just moving up that research track as much as I could. And this I kind of, had a more varied strategy. I didn't pay off, but I enjoyed kind of experimenting and having some fun with that. So Lost Ruins of Arnak, it's a game where now I want to get to the table again. I want to kind of refine my strategy, get better. Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, they talk a lot about improvement when they talk about whether a game is replayable or not. Right. And I see a lot of room for improvement in my plays.
It's a generous way. It's like when the teacher says you have a lot of potential. It's like,
that's right.
You're not really good now, but there's a lot of room for improvement in this game. The next game that I played was also a game that I played with you, and that is Ganymede.
Oh yeah.
This you introduced it to me as the Splendor Killer, and
well, that's what people were claiming. I'm not claiming that myself, but
I can see the comparisons in that it's it's an engine building kind of drafting, but there's more going on. Yes. In Splendor, you're just taking gems, which you're taking cards, which give you gems, which allow you to take more cards, which give you more gems. Whereas this, you're taking cards, but those cards are moving people from Earth to Mars, and then from Mars to Ganymede, and to these scoring cards, and you're trying to get all of one color on one's card, but you're trying to get a bunch of different colored workers onto another card, and trying to collect different cards of the same color, because each card that you play makes the next one more powerful. And so some similarities, but for me they're still sufficiently different games that I would hold both of these together.
So the cool thing is that there's cards and there's tiles, and they both work the same way in that when you're playing the same color of a card or of a tile, then you do that action on that card the number of times as as the number of that color card you have in that field.
That's right.
Or tile in that field. And I thought that was really fascinating. That was an awesome way to play this game. Where I'm curious about, and I'd like to play it more, is just in that the color of cards also correspond to the color of meeples that you need to fulfill certain cards and contracts things. And I found it difficult to synergize those things. I found it didn't necessarily go with collecting the right colored meeples that you required, because you need different meeples or the same meeples. It didn't always synergize well to get the colored meeples that you needed and
Right.
play the cards that would get you the big boon of you can activate this ability 4 times because you're playing a purple card, but I need to play a blue card so I can get a
That's
blue
right.
person. So I was like, I was almost, I don't know. I don't know if that's good or not yet.
Right.
If that tension is just makes the game better, or if it's like would be more fulfilling to just like
Right.
have an all blue strategy.
I tend to enjoy that tension in games. I
Yeah,
enjoy
for
that
sure.
kind of that push and pull of like, oh yeah, you want a purple card. Oh, okay. That's going to give you red meeples. I don't want red meeples. Like,
Yeah.
God, I don't need any red cards, you know?
Yes.
And so, yeah, that tension's really nice.
Right after Lost Ruins of Arnak, we played King of 12.
Oh.
So I played this with you a long time ago. But King of 12 is this just neat little quick playing quirky game
Very quirky.
where you all have the same deck of cards, a hand of cards, and you have a 12-sided die. And these cards manipulate your 12-sided die, and by the end of a round, you want to have the highest number on your die. Maybe. There's some
Right.
cards that kind of change whether you want the highest or the lowest or whatever the case may be. But basically, it's a game of cancellation. Because if you play the same card as another player plays, then those 2 cards are canceled. And so neither of you affect your dice in those ways. If ever the value on your die is the same as another player's, then those cancel out. And the other person or people will then be competing for highest die value. And then there's a certain kind of point allocation for first and second place in each round. And you just play through until a certain number of rounds are won.
Yep.
And away you go. And it's quite simple, but it's kind of zany and fun. But it's harmless. It's harmless and it's nice. It always leaves me with a nice feeling of, yeah, great.
Right.
Yeah, so I like King of 12.
Cool. Next game I played was also, I think, the same night as we played Ganymede.
Okay. You're ahead on your list than I am.
That's
I
right.
played a
That's right.
couple
We'll
of
catch
things,
up. And so tonight we just briefly almost got through a game of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
But he maintains that Jekyll and Hyde is better than Fox in the Forest. I think Fox in the Forest is slightly better than Jekyll versus Hyde, and there was Fox in the Forest that we played.
Yes.
And yes, I don't know, for 2-player, maybe it's just like the trick-taking like element of it. I mean, they're both trick-taking games,
Yes.
but this game just rings home for me. Every time I play it, I'm satisfied. Like, it's just a really interesting concept.
I admit, it's good. I like it. Like, the only contention I have is just I prefer Jekyll versus Hyde, but it's not like when we do our top 100 revisited,
Right.
they're both going to be on there. It's just a matter of Jekyll versus Hyde being higher.
Right.
What I do love, so like again, because we're talking about Jekyll versus Hyde has this weird trump thing where everything is trump. Like, you're never able to slough off a card.
Right.
You're always going to, if you're not playing in the suit that the person is leading, chances are you're playing trump. You know, there's a couple times, there's some where you can be sloughing off a lower class, but it's harder to do that. Whereas Fox in the Forest has that nice traditional trick-taking thing where you can just offload cards quite easily and do your thing that way. Of course, you're going to get stuck. That's the nature of the trick-taking game and whatever. So really enjoy this. This is lovely. Like, Fox in the Forest is a great game to play with your family who knows trick-taking.
Right.
You know, play with grandma. Like,
For sure.
So get a little confused with the special cards, but
Yeah, I have played this with my aunts, and like
Yes.
they were a big trick-taking game family, and so it's gone over well.
Yeah. So yeah, Fox in the Forest, aces.
And then the next game I played, maybe in honor of the death of Queen Elizabeth II, I played 1754 Conquest, the French and Indian War.
Okay.
So the moment that England took control of Canada away from the French. So,
All right.
So, thought it was so it's one of those Academy games, sort of like introduction to war games. Like, some war gamers might be mad that you call like Academy games war games, but whatever. They simulate a war. I mean, it's you're rolling dice. But it's fascinating. Like, I've often, even Ryan Gallagher, one of the guys who watches our videos, can testify that our history class at high school was woefully inadequate. And if my history teacher had ever just pulled out 1754 and laid it out and said, hey, we're going to play this, and like, that's how we're going to learn Canadian history.
Right.
Oh, I would have been there in seconds. Like, I've learned more from this game about the history of Canada than I have in the entirety of my high school education.
Wow.
So it's a really fun game, and it's enjoyable to boot. Like, it's educational, but it's also it's just dice, but you're simulating this war. It's part of the Birth of America series. So there's 1754, 1775, the American Revolution, and 1812. So
okay,
all worthwhile.
You love those games. I need to play at least one. I just haven't.
For sure, I should bring one.
Yeah. So we're at the point in my list where I played Ganymede, Fox in the Forest. Right. So those got played. So then with Dave and Drew, I played Lorenzo Il Magnifico. So this is kind of in that Newton vibe, same design team sort of thing. And this is fantastic. This is a lovely game. I did not do very well. I stayed in contention, but I fell short near the end. But basically, this is just sort of a massive worker placement game. So you have 3 pillars, and there's a little sticker on top of it that represents a different die color. And so then there's 3 different die colors, and at the beginning of a round, those are rolled. And so then that's going to be how powerful your worker is for that round. And then there's a bunch of cards out on the board. There's 4 different color types that correspond to sort of a type of ability or action, like money or points, or loosely, but the different colored cards work slightly differently, but they're all kind of similar in their way. But to acquire those cards, you have to play a worker of a certain value level. Okay. The higher the card is on the board, the more you need to pay for it. And the top cards, you actually need a 7 worker. And so you have these servants that you can add to your pips to acquire cards. So just the core mechanism is lovely. Just lovely puzzle to try and figure out, do I want to spend that much to get that card that's up there? But then at the end of a round, just all the cards get removed and new cards get replenished. So it's not like the cards don't move down and get cheaper. They're just if it's in the top spot, the only way you're getting it is if you pony up. Yeah. And so then there's just a lot of it's point salady. There's lots of points available for if you collect a bunch of blue cards, you're gonna get a bunch of points. If you go so what happened to me is that I sort of again was going with one strategy at the beginning and then kind of took a turn. And I shouldn't have. I just should have just stayed my course. Well, I didn't stay my course. So Lorenzo Il Magnifico, really lovely.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then, this past week, there was a funeral in my family. My grandma passed away, and so it was nice that the whole family gets together, and we had lunch and then we had supper, and so there was hours to kill in between lunch and supper. And I was like, I wonder if I have any board games in my trunk. And so I went out and I looked, and thanks be to God, I had Tiny Towns.
Nice.
And so I went and I pulled out, and Tiny Towns, it plays up to 6. So I took a bunch of my cousins. I was like, you guys look bored. Let's play a game of Tiny Towns together. We played 2 or 3 games of it.
Yes, because that's a game. That you do
straight in a row. Yeah, and it's just great. I played the first game out, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, I got this." And then they're like, "Why don't we play that again?" And I was like, "Cool." So then I put 6 new cards out, and they were like, "Oh, the cards change every game."
Yes,
I was like, yes. So we need to relearn this game now.
Blew their mind a little bit.
That's right. So it was like, oh, I see. Each game is so different because the 6 cards you put out just really change the game dramatically. And there's, even with the base game, there's already 4 options for each card. And so there's a lot of different possibilities, and each one is going to play considerably different. So really, really had a good time. Just playing some Tiny Towns.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The next game that we played is another game that we played together, which is Daniel's #1 game, or at least it was on his last top 100.
That's right. We revisited it.
That's right. It was suggested to us, I think in one of the comments, that there is a 2-player variant where you kind of take out some cards. And so we gave that a shot.
Well, Father Dan suggested.
That's right. So we gave it the 2-player variant a shot, and it went fine.
Yeah, actually, it was quite enjoyable. I felt less at the mercy of crappy draft options. There was a little bit of that, but the right amount that this game provides, where it's oh darn, that thing didn't come out.
Right.
But it wasn't a repeated thing. Mm-hmm. It sort of shone a new light for me on this game of like, oh yes, I do love this game, and it kind of opened up a new layer because I have only ever played with the like suggested set of families. Mm-hmm. We played with a couple new families for me. That was nice.
Right.
And then the other thing too was just like realizing you really leveraged cards that gave kind of one-time bonuses. Right. You did a lot of that. And I was like, oh, there's like quite a few ways to play this game based on what the cards are giving you. Because like I often play this game just based on make those sets. Like make those family sets, make those legends. They're called. Make those legends. That's what I'm going for. So either 1, 2, 3 or 5 1s or 5 3s. Like that's what I'm going for. But you were really letting the cards do some work for you. And I started to kind of flex. I had a few cards that were giving me points for drafting certain colored cards or moving certain colored cards into my Elysium. And so the actual like card abilities were kind of coming to the forefront for me in this game. And so I like that new way of seeing and playing Elysium.
The next game then that I played is Shakespeare.
I've wanted to play Shakespeare for forever.
Is that right?
Is this amazing?
It's good.
I want it to be amazing.
It's good. I Father Dan likes it, I think, maybe more than I do, but it's a good game, yeah. It's interesting. You have this theater production. There's kind of a lot of things you're working on, and you're trying to collect like actors, and you're trying to give them costumes, and you're trying to get like stage managers and the other like behind the scenes people who make the costumes and make your sets and so on. So it's kind of got an interesting theme of like you're building this kind of theater troupe and this theater company. The one really kind of interesting thing, it maybe reminds me a little bit of like Five Tribes, is where like turn order is really important in this game. And so there's like a kind of like a competition for like who goes first each round. And so because there's like this limited pool, and so like let's say there's only like 10 points worth of value in this pool, but your card allows you to draw like 7 points out of this pool. It's like, well, if you draw 7, like then I was only 3 there for me. Right. And so it's like, well, if you go first and you like empty out that pool, like I'm now like at a significant disadvantage. But so it's like really realizing, because you
auction actions.
Yes, exactly. You have like 5 possible actions, and whoever bets the lowest amount of actions goes first. So it's like, okay, well, how many is he going to bet? And like, how many am I willing? Like, can I do only 2 actions? Is that okay? Like, is that crazy? But yeah, really interesting game.
That's cool. So Sarah and I, we also played Tiny Towns.
Okay.
With a couple. So we are a mentor couple for friends of ours who are engaged to be married. So we are helping them through their marriage preparation course. And so we do some marriage prep, and then we play a game.
Cool.
That's very nice. So we play Tiny Towns. And you know what? I love Tiny Towns. But when you lose, oh man, I had this whole cottage strategy, and I just like got gummed up and like was not able to complete a farm to feed these things.
Right.
And it was just bad.
Yeah, when we played Tiny Towns,
I got 0 points.
Wow, I was gonna say one of my uncles scored -3.
Okay.
And it was like, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it's great to play, but like it doesn't really soften any blows. Like if you do poorly, it just feels horrible.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, Tiny Towns, still great. Still great.
Right on. The next game I played, I've talked a lot about, and that's Mandala. So played another game of
Mandala.
Wow,
who do you play this with?
Marion Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a great time playing Mandala, and then we followed that up with.
It's only 2 players.
Yes, but one of them's putting the kids to bed or whatever, and Mandala takes like 10 minutes. So you can. And then the next one we played was a real-time game, and that's 5-Minute Dungeon.
Okay.
I've never played 5-Minute Dungeon before.
Yeah.
An interesting game. Yeah, like you're just getting everyone has their unique hand of cards, and you're trying to match the symbols on your cards with the monsters you need to defeat.
Yeah.
But you're trying to do it in real time, so it's like fast and furious.
Yeah.
You're like, I got a sword, I got a fist or whatever, and you're trying to like match up all these symbols.
Yeah. It's not great, but it's like it's there and it's fun. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not great, but but good. And then another game of Cryptid. So
Okay.
another play of Cryptid. And this time we play with the advanced rules. So there is like advanced rules that in the base game you only ever get positive clues. So like the Cryptid is on a swamp or water, but in the advanced clues you can get like he's not on a mountain. And so you just get like these negative clues that kind of make the deductive reasoning just a little bit more difficult.
Hard to keep track of.
But yeah, really, really interesting. Still really enjoy this game.
So with Dave and Drew, we continued to play. We played another game to finish off our night after Lorenzo El Magnifico. And we played Port Royal. This is fancy. This is such a nice little game. Where it's kind of this like push your luck. Like what I imagine, like I've always been sort of interested in Port Royal, but I never like looked into it deep enough. I just thought that it was sort of like a resource management kind of quick playing card game. It sort of is, but it not like so. On your turn, you reveal cards from this deck, and there's these ships that have gold on them,
Right.
and you can choose to take gold from any one ship that's revealed. But as soon as a second ship of the same color shows up, then you bust. And so in the midst of that too, there's these sort of people that show up. And when people show up, they can give you an ability. And so you can pay to recruit a person. And then they give you kind of benefits and bonuses to do these things more efficiently. But people might also have symbols on them. And then these other people that show up, they're requiring these symbols. And those are the main point cards. So if you have 3 anchors, you can cash those in for victory points, and then it's a race to a certain number of victory points. And so you're playing this kind of like you need money, so you're kind of playing the money game, but then you also are spending money on people that kind of increase your engine, so to speak. It's cool. It plays really well and really nice. I like it a lot. There's a big box edition now that has beautiful, gorgeous art that I'm after it. I'm after it. Ready? So yeah, nice. Port Royal, really cool.
Cool. And then the next game that I played with Marion Dallas was the Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Hey, going back to that old well.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's this is another game where like the theme just like really you're making a potion, you're drawing stuff out of your bag, you're throwing it down, hoping your potion doesn't explode.
Right. It inevitably does.
It inevitably does. Yes. This game is a game that can. For sure, like when we were playing this, my friend Mary, she was infuriated by the time we were done this game. Like, if we're talking about games that we hated and games that like make us angry last time, this was definitely in her like angry category.
Yes.
Because yes, when you like routinely feel like no matter what you do, your potion just explodes, oh man, that sucks the life out of you. But when you get like a great potion and you just like you manage to get everything and it just flows. I mean, it's just a push your luck game. But it push your luck with some ability to mediate that. Like you're controlling what's in your bag.
It's a little bit of an engine builder. Yeah.
And so but it's like lucky, like I had this strategy where like I needed my pumpkins to come out before my blue chips.
Yes.
And so like if my blue chips came out early, I was like, this is stupid. But I was like putting as many pumpkins in there as possible. You know, just like hoping. So great game. Love playing it, even though maybe not everyone in our group enjoyed that.
Okay, so we played Elysium. And then I got some guys together and we played Cyclades. I love Cyclades. I got to play with 5. So full complement. And this game shines at that. But there's not many games that play 5 well. And this plays 5 well. And holy Toledo. So this is dudes on the map. You're trying to control 2 metropolises by the end of a round. That's your goal. And you have all of these buildings that you can build, and there's 4 different building types. If you build all 4 building types, you conglomerate them into a metropolis. But then there's also these philosopher cards that you get from Athena. And if you get 4 philosopher cards, you can cast them in for a metropolis. So there's all sorts of different paths to victory. But there's these 4 gods that you auction whether you're going to gain their influence. And so basically you get a certain set of actions with every god. So Poseidon, you get to move fleets around and buy fleets, put them on the board. You get to do that kind of thing. Get a port building if you want. Ares, it's all the troop movement. But you need fleets connecting islands in order to move your troops to different islands.
Right.
So they kind of need to go in tandem. Zeus, you're getting priest cards, which reduce the cost of your auction. So like when you bid 6 and you have 5 priest cards, you're only bidding 1. So that's cool. And then Athena gives you philosophers. This is fairly quick playing in terms of like auction. That if someone outbids you, then you immediately move your auction to a different god. And so you can kind of get kicked out of what you really want to do that round. And then there's these creatures. And I just had a really great play where I was stuck. I had a island with a metropolis and I had a really good income engine going on that island, but there were 2 opponents that were ready to kind of come onto that island and take it from me. And that would have been the end. And so I needed to fortify my island, but then Ares got outbid. I couldn't get Ares. So I'm looking, I'm thinking, and there's these creatures that you can buy on your turn. And I was looking, I'm like, oh, there's this creature that I put him on the isle, and then I moved the boats away from the island, and then until the start of my next turn, whenever that happened to fall, no boats could go adjacent to that island. And so then the next round, I just bid on Apollo. Did not bid, I just placed my pawn on Apollo, which is kind of the, you're out of luck, here, take this. And so that meant that the whole next round, my island was defended. And because I went to Apollo, I saved money, and I got some income, and I got to get a little bit more income. That's what Apollo does. He kind of boons your income. And then the next round, I was able to afford Ares, and I got, Athena. I was able to afford Athena, and I got 2 more philosopher cards and won the game. Yes. Dastardly. So it was cool. It's cool how the game allows for...
Right.
You shouldn't be able to get out of this. You get out of this. So Cyclades just keeps on going up in my mind. And we ran the board game night tonight, and I had 2 of the guys who played that at my place. They played it at the church, and one, he's done with it. I don't think Dallas is really coming back to this. But Tim loved it. Loved it. So this is fun. Right after that, we played Broom Service. Broom Service that's a champion game, man. I had 5 guys. 5 of us were playing, so I needed 5-player games. And Broom Service plays 5. But this is zany, crazy, like, and the zaniness and kind of the potential for frustration came out in this game where it all evened out. Everyone had a good time by the end. Dallas, for the first 2 rounds, didn't make any points. Right. Just the way that, because what you do is you have 10 cards, you have the same cards, you pick 4 of them to play, and then when someone leads with a card, you have to follow that card. And so if you're playing if you're planning to get a particular potion with a card and then deliver it with another card, but then somebody plays the card that you're going to use to deliver that potion, but you didn't pick up that potion yet. So you really need to be wily about how you got to get stocked up and deliver in the same round. Kind of got to keep that balance so that when the next round comes along, you have stuff to do regardless of the order these cards get played in. And then there's the whole awesome, brave, cowardly decision that you have to make. So, Broom Service, still winning in my books. Love that game.
Yes, then at the board game night, I did get together a game with mostly with children, but we played a game of Kill Dr. Lucky, which is a game that Daniel loves, and I don't really know why he loves it. Actually, I love it. I do know why he loves it, but it is. It's good. It's zany, weird, take that kind of fun, but
I say this all the time. It's just hot potato.
Right.
It's just hot potato. You try and keep on making murder attempts against Dr. Lucky until eventually the rest of the table can't stop you from doing it.
That's right. Yeah, and actually one of the kids won. He successfully got a broomstick into the right room and
clever play.
Yeah, it was like a 7 and it was like we just couldn't stop him. So yeah, it was a good move.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. I'm so happy when kids are able to compete. It's good. And then we ended the game off. I barely play anything when I do these nights because I'm just running around trying to make everyone have a good time. But we ended the night with a game of Point Salad.
Point Salad, yep.
And Father Greg immediately at the very first, he took a card that made cabbages 2 points.
First turn. Thought, you know what? Hey. I was the first player. Maybe not, but anyways.
You were.
I took a card. 2 points for every cabbage. I thought, no problem.
And everyone followed suit. They were like, okay, well, I'll start with a points card. And they just kind of got points card.
Lovely.
And then I just saw 2 cabbages out there. And I was like, you know what? I'll do that.
And you never got a card
I did eventually.
The rest of the game that actually benefited you.
I did very poorly, but it was worth it.
This man stole from me, like, honestly, like 12 cabbages. Like, every single time that cabbage came up, you would for no reason other than to hurt me.
Yeah, really. It started a thing, and it was just kind of a fun way to
neither did I win.
We were gaining an audience, and so I was just kind of hamming it up for the audience. It was good. It was a good time. It was a great way to end the night.
That's right.
Your rage just emitting. Yeah,
that's
right. Good. You really raged it out. It was fun. Okay, Father Greg, the time has come to declare our favorite game of the month.
Right.
What's it for you?
I mean, it's got to be Village, probably. It's my favorite game of all time. Yeah. It'd be weird if it wasn't.
Yeah.
I really love the theme of this game. Like I say, it just is. It's a Euro game, but that actually possesses like something more to draw you into it.
And I would never like describe board games as like having heart. Mm-hmm. You know, you say that movie had a lot of heart, or that book had a lot of heart. Like this board game has heart, which is an interesting thing to say about a board game, a Euro game at that.
Right? Yes, exactly, for sure.
My best of the month is going to be Cyclades.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very good game. Like very quick playing, area control dudes on a map game with a really interesting mechanism that carries through this. Like most of these games you either have like this is an action selection mechanism, but it's fueled by an auction. And so very clever the way that the gameplay works. And very cool that you don't necessarily have to fight. You know, it comes in handy. And again, you're going to, depending on who you play with, it's going to be more aggressive or not. But like you can, there's viable ways to just kind of play defensively and win. And I really enjoy that. I think that's really good. So party people, what did you play this month? What did you play in September? And what were your favorites that you played in September? We love talking to you, hearing about all the games that you've been playing down in the comments below. And until next time, party people.
Yeah, have a good day.
Yeah, not the best one though?
No, the best one, just about average, you know. Having above average.
Subscribe, share this video, don't pay attention to this Yahoo.